Alright, Rockers, joining me now by phone, someone that I've known for several years over social media, and we've chatted over social media and gotten to know each other that way, but this is the first time we've actually had a chance to sit down and talk, mainly because his band, The Handful, from right here in the New York area, have a brand new album ready to come out. I have my copy of it. It's been played on both Spike Radio, my home station, and right now joining me by phone, frontman for the band, The Handful, Mark Duda. What's happening, bro?
Hey, what's happening, brother? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you, man. Glad to have you on. And I'm not glad to finally just be able to speak with you outside of typing on a screen, man. Everything between us over the years has always been email or some form of social media, so it's nice to finally get to sit and chat with you for a while, man.
I agree, brother, absolutely.
So here we are now in 2015. The Handful has been going for longer than I can remember. I know when I got started, you guys were still going strong. It's been a while since your last album and all that. Why don't we just let you fill everyone in on The Handful? Maybe people outside the New York area that really aren't familiar with you guys. Fill them in on what you guys are about, where you're at now.
Sure, my pleasure. The band was founded in sort of in the early 2000s by myself and Jay Michelle. We put out our first album, Palmistry, in 2004. When we came out with that album, we were just a duo. It was purely a studio project. Jay is a multi-instrumentalist, so Jay was playing drums, bass, Hammond organ, Moog, and sort of a jack of all instruments, and I handled all the guitar duties and all the vocal duties. And we actually put that album out in '04. Didn't really know what to expect, but it was around that time when satellite radio really took off. And we actually had seven of the 14 songs on that record charted on satellite radio. And the album eventually became the number one album on the Amazon early adopters chart. So we sold a whole bunch of it, and it was a real pleasant surprise for us. We had been many bands together over the years, including Billy Goat Scruff and Vehicle, which are a couple of bands that were on the CB scene back in the 90s. But it was a studio project. We really didn't know what to expect, and it was a real pleasant surprise that it took off that way. So then in 2007, Jay and I made a second record. So we didn't tour off it. We just kept it as a studio project. We made a second record in 2007 called Secondhand Smoke. That record also did real well, and it was reviewed really well. And it was at that point where we decided, we want to take the project live. So we got some local musicians that we knew. We put together a live act and began doing a bunch of shows, and ultimately wrote a bunch more songs together and released Wooden Indian in 2011. It was a really cool record, and we had a live band to go along with it. But it didn't take us to where we thought we should be. Essentially, and I know that's sort of a curse that all creative people have. You always love your own work, and you think you should be further along than you are. So we had been around for close to 10 years. That was our third record, and we really just decided with this one, we weren't going to mess around at all. So we reached out to my favorite drummer of all time, Bobby Rondinelli. We had some mutual friends. We got him on board, and reached out to one of my favorite guitar players of all time, which is Jimmy Bones, formerly of Kicks and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and I knew him from the New York scene. And we got him involved on guitar, and now we're about to release that record, which is our fourth, and it's called Sons of Downtown.
And I was lucky enough my brother Jay Scorpion and I, we've known you guys for a while. We've been lucky enough to have the album in our hands for give or take a week now, and I really did it because there was so much. You talk about how you added Jimmy K. Bones, Blondie, and Joan Jett and Kicks, and drummer Bobby Rondinelli, and you got your sound has always been that old school sound, but it seems with these new additions, it's even gotten a little bit further to not only be that old school sound, but it also sounds like a New York area band. You're not sitting there going, well, it's a good band, it's old school, it's good hard rock and music, but where are they from? And you're Googling it. There's something about this album. Maybe it's the lineup, maybe it's the way you guys wrote it, but to me it really comes across as like you guys are a New York band. The album says it. Was that part of what you guys were doing when you sat down to write it, or was that just something that is just coming across maybe to my ears, or what do you think on that one?
Yeah, man, I think your take is dead on, brother, because it's a combination of both things. I mean, the album's called Sons of Downtown, and the songs were written about the time that now Jay and I lived together. The founders of the band, Jay and I, lived together on the Lower East Side for a long time. I moved away from there just recently. Jimmy Bones still lives on East 3rd Street. I lived on East 9th Street for a long time. And the songs are about, our lives down here and sort of where I came to be, the songwriter and the player that I am, and Jay as well. And so the songs are all about that experience and all the influences we had down there. And we lived there through the whole hardcore scene, up through, when grunge sort of took over and the whole post-grunge movement, and now on into the 2000s. And we really did want to, the songs are about that time and about us coming of age as musicians and songwriters. So that's definitely a part of it. Bobby was born in Brooklyn. He lives on the island now. He's a New York guy. And then Jimmy Bones lives on East 3rd Street. The album's mixed by Cheetah Chrome, who's a founding member of the Dead Boys, who were one of the huge bands of the CDs era. And so the way he mixed the record has that feel. We've got Keith West of the Brats, who are a legendary New York band. I mean, Kiss used to open up for the Brats back in the day, and Keith sings backups on the record. And I mean, just on and on and on. It's got that sort of New York influence. So I'm really glad that that's come across in the way the record sounds, because we did intend that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like I said, the first time I threw it on, granted, people listening to you and I talking, Mark, are going to sit there and go, well, they're both from New York, so of course they're going to say it sounds like from New York. But, I've listened to a ton of albums, and I've sat there and gone, where is a band from? And you look it up and you go, and you read their bio and they say, oh, we're from, the South somewhere, and our influences were country and this and that, and you don't hear it on the album. And you guys definitely nailed that with Sons of Downtown. And what I think also was interesting is you bring up on how you guys have survived the music scene here in the New York area, from the hardcore scene all the way through to where we are today. Was there at any point in the band where you were questioning the sound of the band? Because for you guys to be around as long as you have been and not changed your sound and stayed true to the way you guys originally started is a rare thing in the industry today, with the way bands are always trying to change for what the labels might be looking for. Was that something you guys struggled with over the years, or did you guys just say, you know what, screw it? The first album was a hit on satellite radio. We're just gonna go with it and what the labels say.
I think it's more of something I would describe as like artistic autopilot. I think it's that, we don't give a lot of thought to the business side of things, and perhaps that's why we haven't had our big payday yet. Who knows? But we write the songs we write, and we play the way we play, just because that's how we do it. I mean, we've never paid attention to what's been popular at the time or anything else, and I think a lot of musicians would tell you that the music they make is really for them. And I mean, that's the case for me. I make music that I like to hear and that I want to listen to. In addition to that, I mean, I happen to be the guitar player as well, but my primary instrument has always been vocals. I've been a vocalist since I was 16 years old. I've fronted many bands. And when you're a singer, your body's your instrument. You can't tune it differently. You can't sort of change the sound of it. It sounds how it sounds. And so I think that's part of it also. The way that I sing is sort of what we write for. And I think that's what comes across. But at any rate, we never made any effort to change with the times or to do what was popular at the time or to write a particular song to try and get a particular record deal, because that's just not who we are. We, at the end of the day, we make records that we want to hear, and if other people like them too, that's great. But we make it because we can't help it. We don't do it for the money.
Well, that also shows in the music you guys are putting out as well, because let's face it, there have been bands over the years, we've all seen them, they've all said at one point or another, well, we did what the label wanted, yeah, it sold, but it wasn't us, it wasn't what we wanted. So I gotta give you guys a lot of credit for staying true to what you guys believe in and the sounds that you guys are enjoying, because look, let's be honest here. At the end of the day, when you guys are getting up to get ready to go onto a stage and perform for a live audience, if you're not feeling what you're going to perform, everything suffers.
Correct. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And, I think another part of that is when we put that first record out in 2004, we did shop it. And we didn't get any offers that we thought were acceptable, We got a lot of offers to sort of give away all our publishing for very little money, and bands out there know the deal, and essentially, any money that the label spends promoting you is really a loan, and you pay it back with interest, we felt it wasn't suitable. So at that time, we actually started our own label, which is called True Rock, and we partnered with a major distributor, and we put our first 3 records out by ourselves. And that did enable us to have creative control, because we just were putting it out ourselves and we didn't answer to a label. With this one, we've been shopping the record, but we were shopping a finished product. So we retained all creative control over the whole process, from who plays on the record to the songs that went on the record, the engineers we used to record it, and even the artwork and the packaging is stuff that's all controlled by us. And the way we look at it is, if we find the right partner that puts it out, and if it's a good deal for us, that's great. But if not, we've been around for long enough, we know the business well enough, and we already have our own label. So the record comes out no matter what. And that's what's most important to us, that the record we release is the record that we want our names on, the product that we want to produce artistically. And the business side of it, again, it's secondary. We've gotten by so far doing everything exactly how we want to do it, and we've done most of the heavy lifting. So at this point, we're not real big on compromise.
Do you think that you guys learned over the years that the best way to do it is to do it yourself? Do you think the reason the industry has gone more towards that and less towards labels doing it the way they used to be, where they go out, find you, give you that loan, and say whatever money you make on merchandise is the money you're taking home? Do you think that part of that is a result of so many of us that have watched the big name bands go through the struggles and now tell their stories? Do you think that that's maybe helped this generation and future generations to realize the direction they need to go in order to get their music heard and it still be their music?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, first of all, it's the whole idea that with the internet and with digital distribution being the way that it is, and with manufacturing costs having come down over the years, I think bands are more empowered to be able to put out their own product. And it's not only important from an artistic perspective, but it's also important that the music comes out at all, because even 10, 15 years ago, unless some guy behind the desk, wearing a suit thought he was going to make money off of your product, it didn't get put out. No one ever signed it. No one ever got to hear it. And the fans never got to decide for themselves whether or not you did what you did was worthwhile. It was all controlled by these industry gatekeepers. And, there's been a lot of disintermediation in terms of that in the last few years, because there are many, many distribution angles, not just, iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud, but there are plenty of distro labels where, that you can partner with and get a record distributed, even non-digital, even in hard copy, and share revenues that way. And I think it's been empowering for the musician and for the artist, because not only have we seen the generation before us go through struggles where you figure, I've gotten to know a lot of people who have been in the business a long time, and you figure, oh, this guy's been in some pretty big bands. He must be a wealthy guy. And what we see is that they're not. The labels didn't share the money with the artists. They weren't fair with the artists. The artists got to live high on the hog and travel around in limousines when they had number one records. But when all was said and done, none of these guys had anything in the bank. So I think now, for a band like us, the way we've been able to keep it going is we sell enough of one record to be able to make the next. And we sell enough merch to have a few dollars on the side. And for us, we joke amongst ourselves and we say, at least we can have it going. And that's the way we look at it, because we make music because we can't help it, and our fans buy enough of the music so that we are able to continue making records without seeking the approval of some businessman who really isn't interested in the music at all.
Right, yeah, I mean, at some point, it's kind of funny because you look at the industry over the years, and you look at it in the 60s and 70s, and the ones behind the labels, behind the signings, they understood the music, they got the music, and they were supporting the artist. And then somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s, it went from the guy that signed you appreciated what you were doing, and it turned into the guy that signed you was a guy with a marketing degree, that all he saw was what you looked like, what you sounded like, and would throw that into an equation in his head to see if you were worth signing to a label. And then you had to hope and pray that like you said, with merch sales, you had money left over. I mean, I've been reading the Scott Ian, I Am the Man book, and he says in there that they really didn't see profit until they made The Sound of White Noise, and that was far into their catalog. So, and that was then, let alone now. So it just speaks volumes to where things have gone within the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, listen, on the face of it, there are bands that get discouraged by the time. Listen, there aren't any A&R guys that are well-schooled rock fans and get the music that really go around and sign bands and have checkbooks and open them up and make you rich overnight. So that may have happened, a generation or a half a generation ago. So that may not be part of the picture. But at the same time, an artist can make a record a lot less expensively than they were able to do in the past, right? Because you have digital recording and it's a lot less expensive, especially if you're well rehearsed, to go in and cut a record and to put it out. There's distribution angles that are available for independent artists to get the music out there. And so, you're not getting a lot of money up front, but at the same time, you're able to put out product and get it out there without seeking the approval of somebody who may not have your best interests in mind.
You mentioned, it's about the artwork and it's about the product. I also want to commend you and the guys for actually putting out a physical copy of an album. I cannot tell you how, don't get me wrong, I love the connections I'm making in the industry, but all I get are downloads. And then I gotta go, and I don't mind buying an album over again. I do it all the time. I'll buy an album I get sent to me from a PR firm because I want a hard copy. But I want to credit you guys for going that route and not going full on digital. And I was wondering, is that because you guys are old school like me, that you want that hard copy, or was there another reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of reasons behind it. First, we also plan on releasing, you want to talk about old school, we plan to release this record in vinyl as well.
Nice.
We're audiophiles, so we love to listen to music. We're fans first. And I love the way records sound. I like the way CDs sound. A lot of the digital music, listen, a lot of it has the life compressed out of it to get the file size down low enough so that it can be downloaded quickly. You actually have to master your record separately for digital versus CD versus vinyl if you want to get the best sounds out of it. And to us, we just want the music to sound how we think it should sound. So it was important to me to make the CD available to fans and to, the industry folks like you, so that when you listen to it, it sounds the way we want it to sound, and so that we have control over that. The other aspect to it is, frankly, it's good business. We make a lot more money off the sale of the CD than we do off of a digital download. So while it does cost some money up front to get the CD, to get the CDs printed and to get the vinyl pressed, the profit margin on a product like that is a lot more than on the download. See, what digital music does is it enables folks to quickly purchase your music. You can get it distributed worldwide quickly. There's a lot of cool things about it. But also what it does is it leads to, folks listen to the samples and they buy they'll download the 2 songs on the record that they like the most, and we make about 9 cents. Whereas if I sell a CD at a reasonable price, let's say $12.99 or something, I'm going to make $5 off of that at the end of the day. That's paying for manufacturing, paying my distributor, and everything else. The same with vinyl. If I sell vinyl for $20, I'm going to make $5 or $10 off of each sale. And so every time we sell a physical product, it puts us that much closer to having our recording budget for the next album. And that's what we're all about, is keeping the habit going. So it's cool for a number of reasons. You know, I like the holding on to a booklet with lyrics in it or photos in it, and listening to the album and looking at the artwork, and I like the way it sounds. And it also is good for our band financially, because there really is not a lot of money to be made off of digital downloads.
Yeah, and not only that, but you also bring up a great point about listening to the entire album. I mean, you know, Mark, you've said, like, and everyone knows I am that listens to the show. I'm an audiophile, so how many albums have I bought or have you bought in our lifetime? You go out and you buy it based off of one song that you may have heard on radio. You take it home and you listen to it, and you find out you love half or more of the album, and you can't do that with digital. If you're doing digital and you're buying the two songs that happen to tickle your ear, you're not giving the other ones a chance because you don't have the whole album.
Well, yeah, you have an excellent point there, and there's also the notion of listening to an album as one complete thought. So this album, Sons of Downtown, is about us musically coming of age on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. We're telling a story with all 13 of those songs. So what we really want people to do is to sit down and listen to that album from the beginning to the end as a complete work. And that's the way I like to listen to records, for example. So that's the way that this album is intended. It's not intended as just a bunch of singles stuck together with some filler in the middle. It is really one complete work. It's one complete story, one complete thought.
Yeah, and it absolutely is. Sons of Downtown is definitely that, from the handful. The new album coming soon. For those of you joining me late, Mark Duda, lead singer of the handful, on the phone with me now. Mark, before I know you've got things to get to, just a few more questions I want to get to before I let you go. I love the first thing I always look for on an album. Let's be honest, we all do it. If we're old school and you actually buy physical albums, the artwork is always number one on your list of what to look for. The artwork on this album, Sons of Downtown, by Pedri Otero, is absolutely amazing.
Thank you, man.
How did you guys find Pedri, and did you guys work together on the artwork, or did he listen to the album and build it on his own? Give me some detail on this, because it really brings home the whole Lower East Side New York idea.
That's a great question, man. Pedri actually did the cover art to our 2011 release, Wooden Indian, and we found Pedri on social media, and I can't tell you exactly how it happened, other than somebody posted some of his artwork. He's done a number of album covers. He does a lot of hot rod art. He does a lot of art for skateboard mags. And he's just a super talented illustrator. So we saw his artwork. We contacted him and asked us to do a logo for us, which is the logo that everybody knows now with the devil horns and tail. So Pedri did that logo for us. And he also did the cover for Wooden Indian. Over the last, 3 or 4 years since that was completed, we've stayed in touch, and he digs the music, and we support what he does. And for this record, what was really cool is Pedri asked us to send him the music, and based upon what he heard, he came up with that cover with that cover art concept, which is so cool to me, because it means when he listened to the record, he understood exactly what it was all about. He came up with that concept of the subway station on the Lower East Side, and sort of the old school tag train, and all of that. And but that came through to him when he listened to the music. So Pedri's a super talented guy. He lives on some beautiful paradise and island off the coast of Spain, but he's really an international character. He's a world-renowned artist, and that just kind of gives you a glimpse into his talent. He was able to listen to the record and develop an art concept that was just dead on.
It absolutely is. I mean, like I said, when I opened the envelope in the mail, and the first thing I saw was this, bright graffiti style, subway train, and as someone who is from the New York area, and like I said, it just really brings it all together because, if you grew up in New York like you and I did, we know what the subways looked like at one time. So
right.
it totally brings it home. And so it really, like I said, it was the first thing that jumped out at me, and just an amazing total package between the story of the music on the album being a New York sounding album. It just wraps it all together. Now, you said that you guys are right now shopping it around. How soon are you guys looking at releasing Sons of Downtown to the public? Because I'm sure people listening to you and I talking right now are going to be hearing music from the album as time goes on my show, The Asylum, and other stations all over the place. Where are we in the process of the album getting out there to the public?
Well, basically, we have management that's shopping the album now, and we've given a deadline. We're going to wait maybe a couple of more months. If we don't find anything, that's better than what we have, which is essentially we have our own label and we have major distribution. So if nobody steps up with a package better than that, that's great. We felt that with all the talent that was on the record, the special guests, Cherie from the Runaways and Pat Travers and Cheetah, we felt, listen, let us give it a shot and shop this record, because we haven't actually shopped the record in about 10 years, and so we're going to take a few months to shop it. If we don't find anything that blows us away, we're going to go ahead and release it on True Rock. And we hope to, have it out by May or so. Either way, and the good thing about it is if we release it on True Rock with our distribution partners, we retain the rights to anything. So at that point, we can put the record out. We can still sign with somebody else and re-release it again. But we've been talking about it for so long and working on the record for the last year and a half, and we're anxious to get it out. So it'll definitely be this spring.
Awesome. I mean, I look forward to really seeing it go full blast for you guys, because it is just a solid album from beginning to end. Sons of Downtown is the name of the album. Look for it soon. If you want it sooner, you know what? Go over to thehandful.com, drop them an email. Maybe Mark and the guys will do you a solid and get you out a copy. I don't know. Mark, that's in your hands. Let them email you on that one, man. I'll bring them music from it every week until it's out. Before I let you go, Mark, is there what song from the album? I know you gave us kind of carte blanche on the album on what to play, but, it's your album. What song? Forget record labels. Forget what a label would want. What song would you say would be the single from this album?
Man, it's a tough question, and it kind of changes every day. But today, I'm thinking "Leading You On," man. That's the one that's been my earworm for the past week or so.
Leading You On. Is there a backstory to that one you maybe want to share with everyone?
I think it's a song that most people can relate to. I mean, it's a song about about a relationship you want to happen, and you watch this woman go along with all the worst guys and do all the bad things, all the worst things for her, and hook up with all the guys that don't have her best interest in mind, and all the while you're standing by and kind of wishing it was you, and you were able to do the right things by her, and so it's cool, and it is about and it's very much a New York story as well, about a punk rocker girl, and it's one of the songs that Cheetah Chrome from the Dead Boys plays on, and anybody that's ever heard Sonic Reducer or one of the Dead Boys' big tunes will recognize Cheetah's guitar as soon as it comes in towards the beginning of the song. So it's a cool one.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely tell you, I've been there and done that in regards to watching a girl go out with the wrong guys in the hopes of them waking up and realizing. I haven't had the success yet of them realizing it was me, but I know where it's coming from. So, Mark, thank you again for joining me here inside the Asylum. Check out The Handful, thehandful.com, to stay up to date on what's going on with Sons of Downtown right now from the album Leading You On, right here inside the Asylum. Thank you, Mark.